First, here, we just talked about this a little bit with the Ahmaud Arbery case, the feds coming in and possibly, this hasn't been confirmed, but being widely reported that in fact, it's been reported that if Derek Chauvin was found not guilty, they were going to arrest him on the spot on federal charges. What's your take on the federal government's case in this scenario, in the death of George Floyd?
So a question that the audience might be thinking about is, hey, if someone's already convicted on state charges, how can the feds come in and essentially try the person for the same thing? The difference is he was not charged for this as a hate crime. He was just charged for the murder. So the feds can absolutely come in, and often do when it's a compelling enough case, if this was race-based or race-motivated. And here, there may be some evidence that this was race-based. If this was race-based, then the federal civil rights statutes apply, and the feds can charge him. It's not really for the same crime. It's for the same action, but a different crime. The new crime being that the action was racially motivated. And if they're successful, he could be facing potential criminal penalties, incarceration, as a result of this different charge by the feds. And you know, when the states come at you, it's serious. They cross all of their T's, dot their I's. If they're going to charge him, they're going to have evidence to support it.
Yeah, when the feds come after you, absolutely, they win. Feds don't lose. Philip, the idea that the feds think they have a case here for a civil rights violation, does it have to be race-based, or I could have my civil rights violated, couldn't I, if police did something inappropriate?
Of course. It could be based on race, color, national origin. It could be sexual orientation, gender, any protected class. And let me tell you, if history is any indication, we go back to the early 90s during the Rodney King trial out here. If you recall, Lawrence Powell and Stacey Koon were both acquitted by a CB Valley jury out here in technically Ventura County, where that trial took place. And the feds came in after the fact. I think one of the reasons why the feds come in last is many states have special laws on the books that protect them from successive prosecutions. So in other words, if the feds would have gone first and a jury came back guilty or not guilty, the states have statutes on the book that preclude a state prosecution. So here they deferred to the state in Minnesota to take a bite at the apple, and of course they prevailed, and now the feds can come in. I predict, and this is just my opinion, the feds are waiting to see what this judge does at sentencing. If the judge goes easy on Chauvin, I think, if memory serves me, he could, I'm not saying he will, but he could get the presumptive term of 12 and a half years. And that would obviously enrage the body politic, the general public, and of course, federal prosecutors. So they can always come in after the fact and prosecute him to get more time tacked on. It's not unprecedented.
Florina, J. Alexander King is black, one of the officers there. We haven't heard anything in terms of the discussions that were caught on body camera that had anything to do with Mr. Floyd's race. What would the feds need here, and what are we missing that they think they have?
Well, I think what they may have is something in his prior disciplinary records or in the investigation regarding what the officers have done previously with other arrests. So are there potentially other actions that were either race motivated or questionable, right? There's a prior handling of a 14-year-old boy where Chauvin put his knee on that child's neck, and that young man was black. I don't know all of the facts of what happened there, but I would think to have this repeat twice, there's some suggestion that there's unfair treatment of minorities. Certainly, the feds will look into the entire history of all of these officers on the police department, how they interacted with the public, and what they did. And if there is evidence to support that perhaps there's disparity in how these officers treat white defendants versus black defendants, then there's reason to believe that that disparate treatment is race-based. My understanding is the feds are not only looking at these officers, they're investigating the entire Minneapolis Police Department to see whether the police department's policies need to be adjusted and whether the police department as a whole is disparately treating black people.
Yeah, and that may be the basis here is that because, I mean, first of all, King's black and he was 4 days on the job. I don't know what, what's there for them, but it may be systemic and they are the product of a systemic organization that at the end of the day, there may be some evidence that the feds would go after. Interesting to see. We'll keep our eye on it. Definitely, it is being floated out there by numerous media outlets. After the break, the officer charged in the shooting death of Rayshard Brooks is asking for his job back. That's next.